morning, good morning. If I may, if I can start off the festivities with asking you to please silence your phones. I might get a text from my wife about, picking up dinner for tonight, so you all know. So I am Mayor Stephen Delina, and I just want to say good morning to everybody. Obviously, welcome to Senator Menendez, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, Commissioner Rios, our distinguished guests, and all of our friends here. As we can all remember, Tropical Storm Henri was a major flooding event here in Monroe Township, in particular hitting our Rossmore senior community. The storm dropped over 9 inches of rain in 3 hours. Many of our senior residents were living a nightmare. I couldn't be more proud of how our township rallied to help those in need during the rescue and recovery. In Monroe, this is what we do. This is what family does. In the hours during the storm and the immediate aftermath, Monroe Township first responders and emergency personnel were heroic in their efforts. Monroe Township DPW, construction, engineering, affordable housing departments dedicated months of countless hours helping residents get back into their homes. After tumult comes action. In Monroe, we remain committed to pursuing funding sources to identify and mitigate areas threatened by rising waters that will never happen again. I was pleased that our state leaders, including our 14th District legislators, Senator Greenstein, Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo, and Assemblyman Dan Benson, at the urging of our township and county officials, earmarked $1 million in the state's fiscal 23 budget for flood mitigation programs, specifically for our Rossmore community. Now we need to focus on long-term regional mitigations in response to that steady increase of storms and the intensities that we've all seen. I fully understand and endorse that we cannot look at flooding on a town-to-town basis. Rainwater knows no municipal boundaries. That's why a regional study is needed. So again, profound appreciation for your support. Thank you to Senator Menendez and Congresswoman Watson Coleman for responding to our requests, focusing on the southern Middlesex County and funding this vitally important project. Thank you to our Commissioner Director Rios and all of our Middlesex County officials for conducting this flood mitigation survey of the southern Middlesex County region. I feel quite confident that this study will help mitigate future flooding. Never again do I want to see our residents experience those dramatic and drastic moments. As the proud mayor of Monroe Township, this great town that we live in, thank you so much for being here, and thank you to our representatives. With that being said, it is truly my honor to call up Senator Menendez.
Well, not as tall as the mayor, so I have to bring this down. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm sorry to be a little late, but sometimes we're the victims of our own successes. There's a lot of construction going on and off the turnpike. We brought millions of dollars to New Jersey from the infrastructure bill that we passed. That's the good news. People are at work. We'll eventually have safer, cleaner air and less time in traffic. But along the way, the work has to be done, and so I thought I gave myself with an hour and 20 minutes to get to Monroe. I thought it was enough. Maybe I need an escort the next time to our police officers. So thank you for your forbearance. And of course, I'm joined by your Congresswoman, who is just an exceptional advocate for Monroe, for her congressional district, a powerful legislator sitting on the Appropriations Committee that determines how funding is going to be set, and so she's a tremendous ally in this, so we stand here together at this great moment. Mayor, thank you for your leadership, along with the Municipal Council. We get a lot of requests from different communities across the state, the 9 million people that I represent in New Jersey, the 500+ communities that make New Jersey home. It's challenging. We'd like to do them all, but we have to prioritize them. And one of the things and how we prioritize is when a community makes the most compelling case. And your mayor and the municipal council made a compelling case. And so that's what we are here celebrating today. And your own background as a planner obviously is incredibly helpful. I appreciate Director Rios as someone who's been a long time friend and someone we've worked together with as well as the other county officials, legislative officials, and community members who call Monroe home. After being battered by wind and rain and floods over the past few years, Middlesex County is finally getting the help it deserves. It's no surprise that floods are the leading hazard identified in the county's mitigation plan. Every year, this area can see millions of dollars in losses due to damage to property and infrastructure, to the ecosystem, to the local economy. I'm sure we've all seen the images of boats floating up and down the streets in nearby Helmetta during water rescues after Tropical Storm Henry and Hurricane Ida. And I want to salute all of our first responders who did such a fantastic job during that period of time. Thank you for your service. But for many communities located along waterways and low-lying areas, it doesn't take a hurricane or a superstorm to flood their streets. All it takes is a few rainy days in a row for flooding to impact their livelihoods. Residents here in Monroe, especially our seniors in Rossmore, who experienced significant flooding during Henry, certainly understand that. The cascading effects can be devastating. When hundreds of thousands of New Jerseyans are at risk of flooding, it's our responsibility as elected officials to step in and help. Whenever I think of flood mitigation, I think of the proverb we all learned growing up: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In real terms, it's been shown that for every dollar spent on mitigation, the federal government saves $6 on disaster relief spending. In this latest round of appropriations, the Congresswoman and I were able to include what are known as earmarks. Now, what does that mean? It means not that this comes through some formula process that the town qualified for. It means that we, as the elected representatives of the people of New Jersey and her congressional district, listen to what it is that local communities are saying is their need. And we specifically designate the money for that community within the federal appropriations bill. So this is a question of choice, not that it was going to happen anyhow. Specific projects that local municipalities identify for us, and then we weigh against competing interests. And as I said earlier, we wish we could include all of them. But we do the hard work of sifting through the proposals to identify the best use of the funding. And when the municipality of Middlesex County sent us a proposal to assist with their county flood management plan, I joined Senator Booker and Congresswoman Watson Coleman in championing the request. So today we're proud to announce that thanks to our efforts, $1.1 million will be put towards addressing gaps in flood resiliency planning in southern Middlesex County. The funding will go towards hiring a multidisciplinary team of planners, designers, engineers, and ecologists, folks who can leverage their experience to help make this region as flood-proof as possible. Working together with regional partners, they will make sure that their work takes into account the most vulnerable and underserved residents in Middlesex. They'll make sure that their proposed solutions are equitable, innovative, and inclusive. And most of all, the team of experts will make strides towards adapting Middlesex County's infrastructure for a changing climate that promises to bring stronger storms more frequently. This grant is part of my larger efforts for Middlesex County. I helped deliver $11 million for projects across Middlesex, and I'm proud of the provisions that I wrote in the American Rescue Plan that brought Middlesex County $160 million, and Monroe specifically over $4.7 million. My hope is that this grant funding for Middlesex County is a down payment on flood mitigation projects to come. I am leading a bipartisan effort in the United States Senate to renew our national flood insurance program. It needs to be reasonable. It needs to be cost effective. We have to do more on mitigation. But when FEMA makes a flood insurance so expensive that 1 million property owners who presently hold insurance are dropping it because it's too expensive, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so we are leading a bipartisan effort to also have that as a provision. But what Congressman and I really want to do is mitigate so people don't go through floods in the first place, so we don't have disaster and then therefore money that is spent in that regard. And that's what we're focused on. So we're thrilled that we are here uplifting this funding as an example of government doing its right work for New Jersey families who call this place home, from Cransbury to Plainsboro, Spotswood to North Brunswick. This funding brings them closer to the day when the Raritan River is not the devastating flood risk that it has been. It brings them closer to the day when once-in-a-generation storms don't trap them in their home without power for days. And it brings them closer to the day when their neighborhoods and loved ones are protected against the effects of extreme weather we've seen over the past few years. So with that, again, let me turn to the Congresswoman. If I'm in a fight in Congress, I want Bonnie Watson Coleman in the foxhole with me.
I have known the senator for a good 3 or 4 decades. I knew him when my dad served with him in the legislature. I've always been an admirer of his, and it is my blessing to be a partner in the House of Representatives with this amazing senator who knows New Jersey like the back of his hand and works very hard for New Jersey, but also for this country. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Director Rios. Good morning, Nancy Pinckney. Good morning to the first responders. I was watching you all as the senator was talking about you, and you're so humble. You just kind of look down like you don't want any attention. You just want the opportunity to do the work, and we're grateful for that. Thank you to the representatives of the Homeowners Association. Thank you to my conservationist who is here, getting opportunity to say hello to a number of people and finding that there's so much diversity of interest and concern right here in this room this morning. Thank you for being here. I'm delighted and blessed to be the representative of the 12th Congressional District. Central Jersey communities like Monroe in particular have suffered devastating flooding for generations. And in 2021, alone Hurricanes Henri, sounds better, was a horrible experience, but the word is pretty, and Ida caused more than $40 million in property damage in Middlesex County. Climate change will only make these storms more frequent and more severe. And we must do more to prepare our communities for this alarming new normal. And that means updating our 20th century infrastructure to withstand our 21st century challenges. And I'm proud of the work Congress has already done to rebuild, reinforce, and revitalize our infrastructure. Thanks to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, America's roads, bridges, and railways will finally see some desperately needed modernization. And New Jersey will see its fair share too. However, local problems like flooding here in Middlesex County demand our focused solutions. Through my work on the House Appropriations Committee, I fought to make sure that Monroe Township and Middlesex County have the funding they need to keep residents safe from flooding. As New Jersey's only congressional appropriator, it is among my top priorities to deliver investments that meet the unique needs of the people that I have been elected to serve. I know from speaking to Monroe residents and local leaders that many felt left behind when victims of Henri did not get the same attention from FEMA as the victims of Ida. While my office doesn't have control over those decisions, I was not going to let that stand in the way of getting resources to my constituents to prevent future tragedy. Since my days as an appropriator in the New Jersey General Assembly, I've known that a government's budget is a direct reflection of its values. That is true even at the federal level, and if not more so today. I will always use my position, not only as an appropriator, but as a public servant to deliver real change for Central Jersey communities that have put faith in me. So I'm happy to be here today to support this project. I am glad that we were able to identify important projects to local communities and to say this is where I want my priority to go. I am glad that it is outside of the normal formula process, which sometimes leaves us out of the largesse. But I tell you that as long as you elect Senator Menendez and Bonnie Watson Coleman to the Senate and to the House, you're always going to have a fighter in the halls of Congress for the things that are important to you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you again. Our next speaker, again, an honor and a privilege for a great man, the greatest county in the land, our Commissioner Director, Ronald Rios.
Good morning, good morning. First, let me start by introducing my colleagues on the Board of County Commissioners. Monroe's own Leslie Koppel, and Commissioner Charlie Penny. And we have our County Clerk, Nancy Pinkin, here. Thank you all for being here. I'm honored to be here with Senator Menendez, Congresswoman Watson Coleman, and Mayor Delina for today's announcement. It's no secret that flooding is the most frequent and most damaging natural hazard facing central New Jersey and southern Middlesex County. In fact, it is one of the leading hazards identified in the county's All Hazards Mitigation Plan, and the reason we launched the Southern Middlesex County Flood Mitigation and Resilience Project. Each year, flooding causes millions of dollars in financial losses due to economic disruption, damage to property and infrastructure, and the impact on our environmental ecosystems. These problems will continue to increase as climate change causes more frequent and more substantial storms in our area. Most recently, the flooding from tropical storms Henri and Ida caused significant property damage in several of the Middlesex County communities. In particular, Tropical Storm Henri caused millions of dollars worth of damage across the southern portion of Middlesex County and in Monroe Township specifically. As we began to deal with the damage from these storms, we were pleased to be allocated state funding to assist in the recovery of the Rossmore community here in Monroe. I, along with my colleagues on the board, were pleased to work with the 14th Legislative District, Mayor Delina, and other local leaders to secure that funding. But flooding is not a community issue. It is a regional issue. And it is clear to all of us that we must work together to develop long-term solutions. And so, last April, the Board of County Commissioners reached out to our federal representatives for support. And as always, they wasted no time in responding and getting to work on behalf of the residents of Middlesex County. Today's announcement of more than the $1.1 million in federal funding is a direct result of their efforts, and I can't thank them enough. This funding, secured through the hard work and dedication of Senator Menendez and Congresswoman Watson Coleman, will have a tremendous impact on our community. specifically by funding the Southern Middlesex County Flood Mitigation and Resilience Project. We will work together to navigate the effects of climate change as a regional issue it is, and together we'll identify ways to slow or mitigate the impact of flooding on our communities. With this funding, we will be able to continue to identify and address gaps in flood resiliency within the Southern Middlesex County region. It will also enable us to continue working with municipalities and our valued partners to implement more effective mitigation techniques that will better protect our people, our property, and key infrastructure, as well as the ecosystem here in Southern Middlesex County from flooding in the future. On behalf of the entire Board of County Commissioners, I want to thank Senator Menendez, Congresswoman Watson Coleman for their efforts. Senator, Congresswoman, thank you so much for the work that you do and your teams to do each day to help our residents. Your commitment to the people of Middlesex County is certainly seen and appreciated. Thank you.
So our last portion of our informational event is local. I would be remiss if I did not recognize council members here. We have our council president, Miriam Cohen, our council vice president, Jerry Mandura, Councilman Charlie Shapiro, and most importantly, recognizing Councilwoman Betty Schneider, who lost her home during the flooding event of Henri and was out of her home for many, many months. Rossmore is as local as you can get. It is that part of Monroe, that early part of Monroe, where people came to move here and enjoy that life of retirement. However, with Henri, tumult should not have been part of their life. So, keeping it local, it is my honor to call up the president of the Homeowners Association from Rossmore, Mr. Dan Jolly.
Good morning, all. Good morning. I would like to thank Senator Menendez, Congresswoman Watson, for funding this very important study. This study is really a first step and really needed, and I appreciate it so much from you. The residents of Rossmore Senior Community have certainly suffered due to the flooding brought to by Tropical Storm Henry. Many are afraid of future flooding. I get calls every day. You know, what's going to happen in our next big rainstorm, this and that. You can't answer it. You can't give a positive answer, okay? We all know that water surges due to extreme weather and long-lasting precipitations must be contained and diverted, or it will find its way into our homes. We are very happy to see that a long-term effort is underway to plan for mitigation flooding in the future. I would like to thank Mayor Galena, Commissioner Director Rob Reyes for moving forward with this study that will benefit our entire region. I also would like to give a very special thanks to a person and his staff who really came forward and really helped the residents of Rossmore, and that's Mayor Steve Galena.
I'm blushing. Thank you. With that being said, I do thank you so much for coming to being here. Next part of our event is, I reckon, some photo opportunities. And enjoy your day. And God bless Monroe Township. God bless the greatest county on the earth, Middlesex County. But more importantly, God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.